What's going on, everyone? I am back and I am again here to discuss some breaking news, this time involving Adrian Peterson getting traded from the Saints to the Arizona Cardinals. Literally happened just a few minutes ago, and as always, I want to talk impact, specifically fantasy football wise. What does it mean for Adrian Peterson, for the Cardinals, and for the Saints? So I'll start with the Saints, and looking at that situation, I think it was easy to tell that Adrian Peterson in New Orleans wasn't working out. He wasn't getting the yardage. His usage was going down. He was frustrated and he wasn't hiding it. And he had pretty much fallen to maybe even third on the depth chart behind Mark Ingram, behind Alvin Kamara. And I honestly think that the rise of Kamara was what ultimately led to Adrian Peterson getting traded. And if I had to guess, I would say the following. With Mark Ingram, obviously a benefit because he won't be losing those main running back carries to Adrian Peterson anymore. Hopefully he can return to being that main runner of the ball and getting those yards that come with it too. But to be honest with you, the guy that I'm really excited for with this trade taking place is Alvin Kamara, because first of all, he was already an established piece in that passing game. I think now more so his usage will go up, at least his time on the field, because he has that running back 2 spot locked up. If anything happens to Mark Ingram, he becomes the lead dog over there. In addition, I think you'll see his usage in the running game itself go up, which will be a great opportunity because he's explosive, he's fast, he's young, and he's viable to break off a run and take it to the house. So I would say my big takeaway for the New Orleans Saints position after the trade is, if Alvin Kamara is somehow still available on waivers for you guys, go ahead, pick him up, especially in PPR leagues. He's going to definitely be a hot commodity there. And on the flip side, for the Arizona Cardinals, what does this mean? Well, with the Cardinals, they were pretty much dead last in terms of running the ball. And honestly, that's what you expect to happen after you lose a guy in David Johnson. He cannot be replaced. It's just that simple. The Cardinals tried Chris Johnson, Kerwin Williams, Andre Ellington, and what happened over there? Well, Kerwin Williams hasn't really been a factor in the running game. They've been giving Chris Johnson the ball. In last week's game, he had 9 carries, but only 21 yards, so not really a factor. Andre Ellington, he has become more of that pass-catching guy, more of a PPR option. He had 9 receptions for 65 yards, so he's pretty much that receiving back. Doesn't really rush the ball too much. Now, I think with Adrian Peterson coming to Arizona, presumably he would become the main guy. I don't know how much he has left in the tank, but definitely I like his situation with the Cardinals more than I do with that of the Saints. So again, if he is available on the waiver wire, I think it's a big question mark in terms of what he'll be able to provide. Definitely not as much in PPR leagues, obviously, as always has been the case with Adrian Peterson. But he is worth an ad on the waivers if available, just to kind of see his situation, maybe give it a week or two, see how he fits in that system, see how he gels with those players, because I do think he will now get the majority of carries. Chris Johnson will start to get phased out of that offense. Not to say that Adrian Peterson is going to become fantasy viable again. That's not what I'm trying to say, but heck, maybe I think best case scenario for him with this trade, doesn't take him too long to catch on, and he can become a running back 2 kind of guy with an intermediate ceiling, and a guy that can hopefully get you guys like 10 to 11, 12 fantasy points a week. And honestly, in a fantasy season where there have been so many injuries, and with this running back position is pretty weak and there's a drop off, that honestly wouldn't be that bad. So keep an eye on that, keep that in mind. But honestly, something that I do want to discuss, and maybe not a lot of people are considering with this trade, is the status of David Johnson and what that means. And the more I think about it, the more I think that this spells bad news for David Johnson, for everyone that was hoping that he would make a return sooner rather than later. And obviously, with them bringing in Adrian Peterson, I think it shows how desperate they are, and he's a big name. So I think they're kind of saying, okay, we're going to get this big name guy, this established guy, and we're going to roll with him. If they had maybe faith in David Johnson coming back earlier, maybe they would have ridden it out with the guys they already have and not been forced to give away a draft pick for Adrian Peterson. And on top of that, also working against David Johnson is the fact that, the Cardinals are sitting at 2-3. They're not a good football team. They've gotten easy wins in terms of bad opponents, and I don't think with the caliber kind of player that David Johnson is, the Cardinals are going to want to rush him back now that they have Adrian Peterson, and especially if they're losing, because if anything, they don't want to risk his future health and having him return too soon and then get injured again, or, heaven forbid, get injured even worse. So I could honestly see David Johnson staying on IR the entire season after something like this. And I would urge people, if you are still a David Johnson owner and there are takers, kind of use this as your call that this might be time to let go of David Johnson. If you can salvage some type of value for him, go ahead and try. I'm now of the mindset that more than likely he will not see the field again, even if he does heal quicker than expected. So let me know, what do you guys think? Do you agree? Would you guys target Adrian Peterson now? How do you guys feel about the New Orleans Saints backfield situation? Personally, like I said, big fan of Alvin Kamara and his potential right now. Adrian Peterson, to me, he will be worth adding on waivers. Do you guys agree, disagree? And as always, like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in future videos.